My sister banned me from her wedding because of my weird kid, then tried to rewrite the story. On the week of my sister's wedding, my 8-year-old found a place card in my purse that said, "Adults only. Beat." He didn't cry. He just asked, "So, I'm the problem again?" I didn't shout. I made one small change. I opened a folder called Receipts because I had a feeling someone was about to rewrite the story. My name is Leah. I'm 35, and I live outside Charlotte. Pause. I'm a project manager. I like checklists. I like clarity. And I used to believe that if you stayed calm, family would eventually meet you in the middle. Beat. My sister Kendra is 32. She's the type of person who can make a room feel like it's auditioning for her approval. She's not loud all the time. She's just exact. Exact about outfits, photos, timing, and what counts as normal. Pause. I have a son, Eli, who was 8 when this happened. Eli is bright, funny, and intense in the way a lot of kids are, especially kids who get overwhelmed by noise and surprises. We were learning what helped him stay regulated. Headphones helped. Quiet breaks helped. Clear plans helped. Beat. And most of the time, we were okay. But Kendra didn't like most of the time. She liked perfect. Her wedding was at a restored barn venue, string lights, white flowers, a tight guest list. The kind of wedding where the vibe is curated like a brand. 2 weeks before the ceremony, my mom called me and said, "Kendra's stressed. Please don't add to it." That sentence already had a history in my family. Translation. Whatever Kendra wants, give it to her. Pause. I said, "Mom, I'm not adding. I'm attending. Like a normal sister." Mom hesitated, then said, "Just be flexible with Eli." I felt my stomach tighten. "Flexible how?" I asked. Mom went quiet for a beat, then said, "You know. If he gets, you know. If he gets, you know." That's how people talk when they don't want to say what they mean. Beat. Human interjection. If you're listening and thinking, why not just ask directly? I tried. But in my family, direct questions get treated like attacks. So I texted Kendra, simple and calm. "Hey, I'm planning outfits for the wedding. What time do you want us there? Also, any kid-related rules I should know?" She left me on red for 8 hours. Then she replied with 2 lines. "Kids aren't really part of the vibe. Let's talk later." Mini cliffhanger. When someone says, "not part of the vibe," they're not talking about logistics. They're talking about shame. The next day, a thick envelope arrived, formal invitation updates, seating chart draft, and a little card with wedding weekend schedule. I didn't think much of it until that evening when I was looking for stamps in my purse. Eli was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. He reached into my purse for a pencil, something he does when he's nervous, like he needs to keep his hands busy. He pulled out a small place card. White cardstock. Elegant font. It said, "Lee Shermoney plus reception." And right beneath it, in smaller letters, "Adults only." Eli stared at it for a long second. Then he looked up at me and said quietly, "So, I'm not invited." I didn't shout. I didn't rush to reassure with fake cheer. I sat down next to him and said, "Hey, this isn't your fault." He shrugged in a way that broke my heart. Because it was the shrug of a kid who's heard, "It's not your fault" too many times. Pause. He asked, "Is it because I'm weird?" I hate that word. I hate it because kids don't invent it on their own. They learn it. I said, "You're not weird. You're you." He nodded, but he didn't look convinced. Mini cliffhanger. That moment wasn't about a wedding invitation. It was about what my child believed he deserved. I texted Kendra immediately. "Got the update packet. It says adults only. Are you saying Eli can't attend?" She responded in under a minute, which told me she'd been waiting. "Kendra, Leah, please don't do this." Kendra, "You showing up will ruin everything." Kendra, "Keep your weird kid away too. Just stay away." I read it 3 times. There are messages you can apologize for later. And then there are messages that reveal what someone really thinks when they believe they're entitled to say it. That was one of those. Beat. Human interjection. If you were me, would you call immediately and explode? Because I wanted to. But I also knew if I exploded, she'd call me unstable, and the family would rally around her stress. So I did the one small change. I opened a folder on my phone called Receipts, and I saved that screenshot like it was evidence in a case file. Then I replied, calm and short, "Do not speak about my child like that again. I won't attend. Please confirm in writing that you want me to stay away." Kendra, "Yes. Stay away. This is my day. There it was, clean. Then she added, and don't make mom cry. Mini cliffhanger. When someone hurts you and then tells you not to upset someone else, they're trying to transfer the guilt. I didn't respond. I called my mom instead. Mom answered with an exhausted sigh. Leah, please. I said, did you know she was excluding Eli? Mom hesitated. Kendra just wants it quiet. She called him weird, I said. Mom's voice tightened. She didn't mean it like that. She typed it, I replied. Meaning happened. Silence. Then Mom said, can you just come alone? Leave Eli with a sitter. It's one day. I looked at my son across the room, small shoulders, pencil clenched, pretending not to listen. And I realized this wasn't one day. This was a pattern, a lesson, a message. I said softly, no. Mom snapped, so you're going to punish the whole family. I kept my voice calm. I'm going to protect my child. That night, I told Eli we weren't going. He didn't cry. He just asked, did I do something wrong? I hugged him and said, no, someone else did. The next morning, I got a text from my aunt. Hey, sweetie, are you coming to the rehearsal dinner? Kendra says you're overwhelmed and need space. My stomach dropped. Kendra wasn't just excluding me. She was writing the story for everyone else. Pause. So I asked my aunt politely, can you screenshot what she said? My aunt sent me a screenshot from the new group chat. Someone had forwarded it to her. Kendra, Leah can't handle big events. Please don't pressure her. Kendra, Eli has issues. We don't want to trigger him. My hands went cold. She'd turned my refusal into a mental health narrative. And she'd turned my son into a risk management issue. Mini cliffhanger. The fastest way to lose your voice in a family is letting someone else narrate your silence. Human interjection. If you're thinking, just jump into the chat and correct it. I considered it. But Kendra had already framed me as unstable. Any emotional response would look like proof. So I did something else. I wrote one calm, factual message and sent it privately to the relatives I cared about: my aunt, my grandma, 2 cousins. Hey, I'm not attending because Kendra explicitly asked me to stay away, and she used hurtful language about Eli. I'm not arguing. I'm just setting a boundary. I hope the weekend goes well. No name calling. No long explanation. Just reality. Then I saved those messages too. Receipts. Beat. My mom called again that afternoon. This time, she sounded angry. Why are you telling people Kendra said something mean? I said, because she did. Mom. It was a stress message. She didn't mean it. I replied, then she can apologize. Mom. She won't. You know how she is. And that sentence, you know how she is, hit like a slap. Because it meant my mom expected me to accept harm as a personality trait. Mini cliffhanger. You know how they are. Is how families keep the same pain circulating for decades. That evening, Kendra texted me again. Kendra, stop spreading drama. Kendra, Mom is crying. Kendra, if you love this family, you'll fix it. I didn't respond right away. I opened my laptop and did 2 practical things. I emailed the venue contact listed in the schedule packet and asked politely whether children were truly not allowed because I needed to know if this was a venue rule or Kendra's rule. I checked my bank app for unusual charges because I suddenly didn't trust anyone's boundaries around my life. Human interjection. That second step might sound dramatic, but when someone shows entitlement toward your child, they often show entitlement toward your resources too. The venue replied the next morning. Hi, Leah. Children are allowed at the venue. We often accommodate families. We do have a quiet room available upon request. So this wasn't a venue rule. It was Kendra's decision. Beat. Mini cliffhanger. She wasn't protecting the wedding. She was protecting an image. I forwarded that email to myself and saved it. Then I replied to Kendra. 1 sentence. I confirmed kids are allowed at the venue. This is your choice. I'm respecting it by staying away. Do not contact me again about it. Kendra responded with a thumbs up emoji. Like I was a coworker, not her sister. 2 days later, a box arrived at my doorstep. Inside was a bridesmaid dress. I had never agreed to be a bridesmaid. There was a note on top. You can still be in pictures, just don't bring Eli. I stared at the dress and felt a strange calm. This was what Kendra did. She used objects, gifts, clothes, roles to pull people back into alignment. Mini cliffhanger. The dress wasn't for me. It was for the story. A story where she still looked like a loving sister. I didn't keep the dress. I returned it with a short note. I won't be attending. Please stop sending items to my home. Then, I got the text that made my chest tighten. From my dad. Dad, your mother is beside herself. Please come for her. Not Kendra. And that's where the family pressure usually works, right? They stop arguing the facts, and they start bargaining with your empathy. Human interjection. If you've ever been the empathetic one, you know how dangerous that is. Because you can be pulled back into the same harm just because you don't want others to feel uncomfortable. I called my dad. Dad, I said, did you see Kendra's messages? He paused. Your mom told me you're taking it the wrong way. I said, I'll forward them. Will you read them? He hesitated. Leah, it's just a wedding. I answered calm, it's my child, and it's your daughter. Silence. Then he said quietly, send them. So I did. Screenshots, timestamps, no commentary. And for the first time, my dad didn't defend Kendra immediately. He just said, I'll call you back. Mini cliffhanger. That, I'll call you back, felt like the first crack in the wall. But I still didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. Because the next day, I got an email notification from my apartment building's package system. A package had been redirected from my unit. Not delivered, redirected. I called the front desk. They said, your sister came by and said you asked her to pick it up. My stomach dropped. I said, I did not. When I saw my mom's signature on the pickup slip, I didn't feel rage first. I felt something worse. I felt certainty. Because now it wasn't just words. It was action. Pause. I drove to my parents' house that evening with Eli in the back seat, quiet and watchful. Before you judge me for bringing him, this is important. I wasn't bringing him to fight. I was bringing him because I didn't have childcare, and I believed my parents wouldn't cross certain lines in front of him. I was wrong. Beat. My mom opened the door and smiled too hard. Leah, hi honey. I said, where's my package? Her smile faltered. What package? The one you picked up from my building, I said calmly. I have the signature. My mom glanced toward the living room, like she wanted to escape the conversation. Then she said, oh, that. Kendra needed it. I blinked. Kendra needed my package. Mom. It was an order. Wedding supplies. You wouldn't understand. I said, why was it sent to my address? Mom's voice sharpened. Because you're always home, it was easier. Human interjection. It was easier, is what people say when they're used to using you. It's never easier for you. It's easier for them. Eli stepped into the doorway beside me, clutching his small headphones case. He asked softly, Grandma, why don't they want me there? Min mom froze. And instead of answering with care, she did what she always did when confronted by a child's directness. She deflected. Oh, sweetie, she said too bright. It's not about you. Eli looked at her and said, it is. She said I'm weird. Silence filled the entryway. My mom's face tightened. Who said that? Eli's voice got smaller. Aunt Kendra. My mom looked at me like this was my fault for letting him say it out loud. Mini cliffhanger. That was the moment I realized my mom wasn't embarrassed by the insult. She was embarrassed that it was now undeniable. My dad walked in from the kitchen, eyes tired. What's going on? He asked. I held up my phone. Mom picked up a package from my building. She said Kendra needed it. My dad frowned. Why would Kendra need something delivered to Leah? My mom snapped, because Leah is making everything difficult. I kept my voice level. I'm not the one who made a child feel unwanted. My dad looked at Eli. Buddy, are you okay? Eli shrugged, trying to act tough. It didn't work. He looked down and whispered, I can be quiet. That sentence, I can be quiet, hit me in the chest. Because it wasn't a plan. It was a survival strategy. Human interjection. If you're a parent, you know that feeling. The moment your kid tries to shrink themselves to be tolerated, it changes something in you. I bent down to Eli and said, you don't have to be quiet to be loved. Then I looked at my parents and said, we're leaving. My mom stepped forward. Leah, don't be dramatic. I didn't yell. I just said, do not come to my building again. Do not pick up anything in my name, and do not discuss my child like he's a problem to manage. We left. In the car, Eli was silent for almost the whole drive. Then he asked, am I the reason you don't have a family? I pulled over into a gas station parking lot because I couldn't drive while my throat tightened like that. I turned around and said, no, you are not the reason, The reason is adults making bad choices. Eli nodded, but his eyes were glassy. Mini cliffhanger. I thought the worst part was the wedding exclusion. I didn't realize the worst part was the way it would echo in my kid's head. That night, I emailed my building management. I did not authorize anyone to pick up packages on my behalf. Please add a note, no family pickups, only me. Then I changed my delivery preferences on every account I could think of. And I created a second folder in receipts called Property Access. Because this wasn't just emotional. This was boundary violation. The next morning, my dad called me. His voice was quieter than usual. Leah, your mom told me Kendra asked her to handle things. Handle what? I asked. Dad hesitated. Handle you. I let that sit for a beat. Then I asked calm. Dad, did you see the venue email? Kids are allowed. I saw it, he admitted. Your mom didn't. I said, no, she did. She just didn't care. Dad exhaled. Leah, Kendra is intense. I replied, Dad, if you keep calling it intense, you keep protecting it. Silence. Then Dad said something I didn't expect. I think your mom was going to ask you for money, he admitted. For wedding extras. What? I asked. Dad cleared his throat. She said you'd help if it was for family. Mini cliffhanger. So that was part of it. Exclude me publicly but keep me useful privately. 2 hours later, a charge notification hit my phone. Attempted purchase. A wedding decor supplier. Declined because the card on file was expired. But the attempt was real. And the shipping address listed? My parents' address. I screenshotted it, saved it, receipts. Human interjection. At this point, if you're thinking, this is more than a wedding, you're right. This was a pattern of entitlement, finally getting sloppy. I called my bank and locked the account down. Then I texted my mom one line. Stop using my address and payment profiles. I have the charge attempt documented. My mom replied instantly. How dare you accuse me? I didn't respond. Because I didn't need her to admit it. I needed it to stop. The wedding weekend arrived like a storm I wasn't attending. I didn't show up to the rehearsal dinner. I didn't show up for photos. I stayed home and made pancakes with Eli. We built Lego sets. We watched a movie. We took a walk. Pause. I tried to make the weekend feel normal for him because kids remember vibes more than facts. But my phone kept buzzing. Cousins. Aunts. Even my grandmother. Are you coming? Your mom is upset. Kendra says you're sick. Is Ele okay? I responded to only 2 people, my dad and Aunt Kara. To Kara, I wrote, we're safe. I'm not attending. To Dad, I wrote, I'm not discussing this by phone, only text. Human interjection. Some people think boundaries are rude, but boundaries are what you use when your words keep getting twisted. Saturday afternoon, the day of the ceremony, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A calm, professional voice said, Hi, this is the venue coordinator. We have a question about a delivery order. It's under your name, Leah. My stomach dropped. I called back immediately. The coordinator said, someone placed an order for additional items and listed you as the contact. They said you'd be paying at pickup. I kept my voice steady. I did not place any order. Please remove my name from everything. The coordinator hesitated. Okay, but the person here says you agreed. Who is the person here? I asked. A pause. Kendra, the coordinator said. Mini cliffhanger. I wasn't even at the wedding. And my name was still being used like a tool. I said, calm, please email me confirmation that my name was removed, and please note, I do not authorize any purchases on my behalf. The coordinator agreed. Then I got another voicemail. This one from my mom. Leah, she hissed. You are ruining your sister's wedding from a distance. Do you understand how embarrassing this is? From a distance. That phrase was almost funny if it hadn't been my life. I didn't call her back. I sent one text. I'm not contacting the venue. They contacted me because my name was used. Stop. Mini cliffhanger. I thought that would be the last of it, but Kendra had one more move, one that required an audience. That evening, my cousin Maddie FaceTimed me. Her eyes were wide. Leah, you need to see this. I hesitated. I don't want drama. This isn't drama, she said. This is insane. She flipped the camera toward the reception hall. Kendra was at the microphone, smiling like a pageant winner. And we just want to say, Kendra said, it's sad when people can't show up for family. But we forgive them. The room clapped politely. Then Kendra added, Some people choose chaos. We chose love. My cousin turned the camera back to her face and whispered, "She's talking about you." I felt my cheeks burn, but my voice stayed calm. "Okay," Maddie whispered. Your mom is nodding like it's true. Human interjection. This is the part where you want to jump into the room and defend yourself. But defending yourself in a rigged room never works. You need something else. Proof. I said to Maddie, "Can you record that?" Maddie nodded. "Already did." Within minutes, Maddie texted me the clip, and I saved it to receipts. Then another message. From my dad. "Dad, I'm done. She just lied about you in front of everyone." I stared at my screen, because I could count on one hand the number of times my dad had chosen truth over smoothness. Mini cliffhanger. The family system was cracking, and once it cracks, people scramble to control the narrative. 10 minutes later, a second clip arrived from Maddie. This one was chaos. The venue coordinator was speaking to Kendra near the bar. Kendra's voice was sharp. "It should have gone through. She always pays." The coordinator said, "Ma'am, the name on file doesn't match the authorization." Kendra snapped, "Because she's doing this on purpose." Then my mom stepped in and said, quietly but clearly, "Stop. People are watching." And my dad said something that made my stomach flip. He said, loud enough to be heard on the recording, "She told you to stay away. You did this." Silence followed. Maddie whispered behind the camera, "Oh my God." Mini cliffhanger. My dad had just said the quiet part out loud at the wedding. That night, I didn't post anything online. I didn't send a mass text. I wrote one message in the extended family chat, short, calm, factual. "I'm not attending because Kendra asked me to stay away and used insulting language about my child. I have screenshots. I'm not debating it further. Please don't contact me about it." Then I attached the screenshot of Kendra's text. Just that one. No name calling. No lecture. Just evidence. The chat went quiet in waves. Then my grandma typed, "Kendra, is this true?" And Kendra responded, "Leah is twisting it. She's always dramatic." But nobody laughed this time. The day after the wedding, my mom sent me an email. Subject: Family expenses please read. Attached was a PDF, a spreadsheet, line items like additional decor, venue, coordinator overtime, replacement items, emotional distress, and at the bottom, bolded, amount due, $1,840. My name was on the invoice line, like I was a vendor. I stared at it for a full minute. Human interjection. If you're thinking that's ridiculous, yes, but ridiculous things become real problems when families decide to believe the person who yells the loudest. I forwarded the email to my attorney friend, just a quick consult, nothing dramatic. Then I replied to my mom with one sentence. I did not authorize any purchases. Do not contact me for money. Communicate in writing only. My mom called immediately. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail that was half crying, half angry. "Leah, I don't recognize you. Kendra is devastated. You can't just disappear and then attack us with screenshots." Attack use. That word again. Proof becomes an attack when someone lives off denial. Mini cliffhanger. I knew the next step would be guilt, but I didn't expect the next step to involve my son. That evening, Eli walked into the kitchen while I was listening to the voicemail. He heard my mom's voice say, "weird kid" again, because Kendra had repeated it in the background. Eli froze. He whispered, "They still say it?" My chest tightened. I knelt down to him and said, "Listen to me. Adults sometimes say cruel things when they want control. That doesn't make it true." Eli swallowed. "Do they hate me?" I said carefully, "They don't know how to handle what they don't control. But we do." Mini cliffhanger. In that moment, the entire story stopped being about my sister or my parents. It became about what my son would learn from my response. So I did something very deliberate. I wrote a letter. Not to argue, to set terms. To Kendra. Do not contact me or my child. Do not speak about him. Do not use my name for purchases. Any further attempts will be documented. To my mom. If you want a relationship with me, it will require respect for Eli, and it will require you to stop acting as Kendra's messenger. If you bring money demands again, I will end contact. To my dad. I appreciate you naming the truth. If we rebuild, it will be slow. Then I did one more practical thing. I told my building manager again, no family pickups. I changed passwords. I removed my parents from emergency contacts at school. Not as revenge, just safety. Human interjection. Some people hear that and think it's harsh, but when someone calls your child a problem, you don't negotiate access. You protect access. 2 weeks passed. Quiet. Then my dad asked to meet at a diner. He looked older than he had a month ago. He sat down and said, "Your mom is stuck in this idea that keeping Kendra happy keeps the family together." I stirred my coffee. "And where does that leave Eli?" Dad nodded, eyes wet. "I know." He slid his phone across the table. A text from Kendra to him. "Leah is trying to make me look like a monster. Fix her." Dad looked at me and said, "I can't fix her. I can only stop enabling." That was the closest thing to accountability I'd ever heard from him. Mini cliffhanger. But my mom still hadn't apologized, and I knew she was waiting for me to crack first. A month later, my mom finally texted, "Mom, can I see Eli? I miss him." I stared at the message. Because she didn't say, "I'm sorry." She didn't say, "What Kendra said was wrong." She just asked for access. I replied, calm, "Not yet. When you can acknowledge what was said about him and promise it won't happen again, we can talk." My mom wrote, "You're holding grudges." I replied, "I'm holding boundaries." That was it. And after that, something changed. My mom stopped texting for a while. My dad kept limited contact. Kendra tried once, one long email about misunderstandings. I didn't respond. I didn't need her to understand. I needed her to stop. Human interjection. This is the part people don't show on social media. Boundaries aren't one big moment, they're boring consistency. Over and over. Now what did they lose? Kendra lost control of the narrative. She couldn't paint me as unstable anymore because her own text existed. Time-stamped, saved, forwarded, confirmed. My mom lost automatic access. Because access isn't a right, it's earned. And my dad lost his comfortable middle position because he finally had to choose truth. As for me, I gained something I didn't expect. Eli stopped asking if he was the problem. Not instantly, but gradually. One night, months later, he said, "Mom, thank you for choosing me." And I said, "Always." Because the real payoff wasn't Kendra being embarrassed. The payoff was my kid learning that dignity is non-negotiable. My sister told me to stay away, like my presence and my child were hazards. So I stayed away. And the moment the receipts came out, the story she built couldn't stand up anymore. And that's the ending. Pause. Not loud, not dramatic. Just documented and final. If you like calm, documentary-style stories with receipts and a clear payoff, subscribe. I post long-form stories like this regularly because the next story starts with a nice family request and ends with a timestamp that doesn't lie.